Welcome everybody to another episode of HomeKit Insider. You've got me as always, Andrew O'Hara, and here with me, the man, the co-host of the Apple Insider podcast. It is also the singer of All I Want for Christmas is a Luau with You. It is Wesley Hilliard. How you doing, man?
Pretty good, Andrew. You were close. It's all I want for Christmas is my two front teeth. But
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
it was close.
I'm here on video for I think the second time ever for a podcast. So let's see how this goes. I might look like I'm either in a hostage video or again I'm getting chased around by my center stage. So let's see how this all works out.
Yeah, everyone can't tell on camera, but I actually have you tied up at torch point. If you try to run away, you will be lit on fire, so he is forced to stay here through the entire episode and talk about smart home stuff. So it's the only way I could get him to do it.
Sounds about right. I mean, as much as I love my smart home, it's also a pile of work. Basically, you take on becoming the chore man for anything that goes wrong in the smart home. So it's definitely a lot of work to do.
This is true, and I feel like for people like you and I, it kind of goes up exponentially because we don't have, like a normal smart home, I'll talk to someone with a normal, like, oh yeah, I've got like 10 devices or something, and that is not the world that we live in,
No.
and it just makes things so much more complicated.
Yeah, I know you're much higher than have a much higher number than me because you and Steven both basically built your home around HomeKit, which I will be doing when I move into the home I'm looking into, but I think I'm at about 50 plus devices somewhere in there. So it's still a pretty significant number and just enough that maybe it's time to start looking into new routers, which we'll get into later.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go ahead and get into the news, starting off with an update to the Aqara FP2 presence sensor, occupancy sensor, whatever they want to call it. But there's three pretty cool updates coming into it. One is available now through an existing firmware update that just rolled out. And then two, I believe, will be coming in the future. But the first one is really cool. They've basically added sleep monitoring to their occupancy sensor. So after the update, you can mount this above your bed and it will be able to tell you things such as how long you slept, the sleep stages, your heart rate, and your respiratory rate. Now, this is not the first one to do something like this. I've actually seen, I can't remember what it is. I think it's like Sleep Score or something. And it looked like a speaker, and it would sit next to the bed, and it would do the same thing. It would use these like millimeter waves to measure the tiniest movements in things like your chest, and it could detect your heart rate, your breathing compressions, all that stuff, and help measure the quality of your sleep. But this is crazy. This is unheard of, in the smart home space, as far as like basically a motion sensor for HomeKit now can literally track things like your heart rate and your breathing while you were sleeping in bed. This is cool.
There's been so many pieces of technology around tracking sleep, from mattress covers to smart pillows, your phone just literally listening for you. I mean, I think sleep something. I forget the name of it, but there's so many apps that just do like snoring detection and try and tell you exactly what you're supposed to do. And here we are now, we're installing not a camera, it looks like a camera, but you're going to have to convince your spouse that it isn't, and mounting it above our bed so it can watch us sleep. And depending on your level of trust in technology, that may be amazing or creepy. So for me personally, I think my Apple Watch tells me enough as it is.
It's more visible being that it's mounted above your bed, but one, it does technically more than what the Apple Watch is offering. But two, like I don't think it's any less creepy than putting Apple's Bedit system underneath your bed or underneath your mattress pad or whatever. That was essentially doing the same thing.
Does that even technically still exist? I think you can still buy Bedit.
Technically, Bedit. I think Bedit 3 has been discontinued. But that was a thing for the longest time until Apple was kind of happy, I guess, with their Apple Watch monitoring. But that existed. The side ones, there's other ones that do different type. Like we said, there's so much tech out there for sleep tracking. But it's pretty cool.
Do you do any sleep tracking?
I generally do. I generally use my Apple Watch, but here's what I've ran into. I've been kind of working so much that I have been sleeping very hard, and then in the morning I do not want to be woke up. So like when my Apple Watch was like tapping me on the wrist to wake me, what used to be a really nice feature when I was a nice well-rested human is not nearly enough to wake me with my current level of
I
sleep
find
deprivation.
the thing that always gets me though is the ease at which you can silence those alarms, because you can just slap your wrist and now it's gone forever. So I've taken to keeping an iPad across the room so I can make myself get out of bed and turn it off, because even yelling a command isn't going to work because I have a HomePod in the room, so it would all just get confused. So I have to get up and turn it off.
Right, and now you can just use double tap to dismiss that alarm. So it's
Oh
like,
goodness, yeah, that was
yeah,
dangerous in that commercial for double tap. I don't know. It's just like, yeah,
I'm
here you
already
go.
a
This is
notorious snooze timer hitter, which I don't think my wife appreciates half the time. So
no.
yeah, I try to
Gotta
stick with the
at
alarm
least
and not hit it too much.
appreciate the silent alarm that Apple Watch offers, but yes, like snoozing
Yes.
is just the way of life these days.
Well, coming up with some future updates for the FP2, they've announced AI Person Detection. So they say this is a new feature optimizing the zone detection functionality, but basically it's able to distinguish between a human and other things. So robot vacuums, pets, toy cars that are being driven through. It's able to differentiate all of those between actual humans and then use that for triggering any automations and stuff. Second one is people counting. So this will amplify this sensor for the zone detection functionality, real-time head count, and entry count data, and more types of data will be available in the future once this is released. So pretty cool. Couple new features. I believe those are coming in the future, and then the sleep detection is available now. But this is pretty amazing stuff.
It's too bad a lot of that data can't be surfaced by HomeKit. I know Akara has a pretty amazing app that you can set up a lot of automations and stuff for, but I don't believe occupancy level is a thing HomeKit can surface.
No, and I know they can what I like with that Akara did was like its zones. Like you can create those zones for different automations, but I love that when you create those zones, it actually shows as different sensors inside of HomeKit to force it to work. But yeah, things like your head count and all of those aren't going to matter. What I'm wondering is with the person detection, this is going to be the big part for me, is if it's able to actually just show that data to HomeKit. So Akara will detect whether it is a toy car or you walking into the room, and then if it can only send that information to HomeKit. So it'll ignore all the toy cars and just send the humans. So that might be possible, even if like the head count stuff won't be.
Do you just have a bunch of remote control cars flying around your house at all times, like that Mario
Absolutely.
Kart track that Nintendo introduced? Yeah, that sounds fun.
just a toddler who is got a little train that kind of runs on its own, so that goes through everywhere. More likely the robotic vacuum cleaners. So that's the
right. That's true. Those things. My pets love those. They love chasing them around and barking and all that, of course.
Mm-hmm. Well, since we're talking about software updates, we got a couple here that we need to chew through. So first, iOS 17.2, after a lengthy beta cycle, has been released on the masses. And the one part I feel like that is, HomeKit relevant or smart home relevant, a topic that we cover mostly here on the channel, would be the MagSafe / wireless charging part. And that is because Apple has brought Qi 2 support to not only like the 15s, which was of course at launch, but it's coming to the iPhone 13 and the iPhone 14s as well. If you have an iPhone 12, you're kind of left out in the cold on Qi 2, but now you'll be able to use Qi chargers that are Qi 2 certified at up to 15 watts of power on the 13 and 14 models, as well as the iPhone 15s. We still don't have any actual Qi 2 chargers yet, but we might very, very soon. So
this is an exciting update. Yeah, it's an exciting update because for me personally, I've already went through and just stuffed the house full of MagSafe chargers that can do the standby mode, because standby mode's a pretty excellent feature. I understand official MagSafe does the save state where it remembers which widgets and which things that you view at that location. I don't believe QI2 is going to get that, and I know QI like the standard previous models don't have that. But I would be curious to see if any further implementations can be made there. But they're also just so much cheaper. I believe like Nomad is my favorite go-to. They have those fancy stations, and they're almost twice as expensive to go with Apple's official MagSafe branding versus their QI. And Nomad does this cool thing where they give you a black charging puck when it's not official MagSafe. So I don't know. I want to see what QI2 brings us.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot. I think we're going to see a ton more at CES. That's going to be the topic for the next like 2 or 3 weeks, I think, guys. Is it going to be nothing but more at CES? Like that's just going to be what we're going to say, because Qi 2, there's going to be a couple that hit before the holidays, but everything else we're going to see at CES in January being kind of announced and rolled out. There are already some, including ones from Belkin, that are MagSafe certified that do have the other charging pucks, but I don't know what the restrictions are and how these, how some things get through and some things don't, because there's certain ones from like Nomad that have recently launched that still have with white charging pucks on them, even though black one will look really sleek, and I don't know why, some do and some don't, but yeah, Qi 2 should unlock that a little bit. Since it's not going through Apple's certification process, be able to put any kind of surface you want on there if Apple is still being stingy with who they allow and who they don't allow. But yeah, like you said, we're going to see lower price points on these.
With Qi 2 being a thing and with Android adopting MagSafe-like technology, what do you think of integrating charging pucks into various appliances, furniture, stuff like that? Because we've seen a little bit of that before, but I think this opens up the door because now everyone can use the same charging pucks. Now we might see a Samsung refrigerator with a MagSafe puck on the side of it, which would be, I don't know, just very interesting to me. Of course, when you add something like this to a piece of furniture, it becomes a problem. A lot of the 30-pin connector that you can still find in some hotel rooms and airplanes. So I can see the danger, but I can also see the appeal.
I mean, I think this is a great thing for hotels. I mean, because they can stick a freaking Qi 2 charging pad right there on the bedside, and you're going to get Qi wireless charging for any devices, you're going to get MagSafe essentially charging devices, and you're going to get Qi 2 for the Android devices. So you're going to kind of cover all of your bases with wireless charging. And wireless charging is great for overnight because it's not necessarily the fastest. Now, Qi 2 and MagSafe, assuming Qi 2 is the same speeds as MagSafe, it's nearly as fast. Like, I did so many charging tests, and by the time that we actually went to a complete full battery, it was not much slower. It was like a 10 minutes slower on MagSafe versus like a 30 or whatever the maximum was before, just because of how they slowed down. And like there's different curves with how they got there, but they both slow down kind of at the end. So it wasn't a huge difference. I think it's actually kind of a little bit more of a problem in integrating into furniture, because I tested a few Qi chargers that you would actually mount underneath your desk with just like, they would like screw on and it would go through the charging surface, and you could just, so you had nothing. It was completely smooth and it would charge. But now with this, you're going to have essentially a puck that'll align and all that stuff. So like in some ways, it's harder to build in.
The flat surface Qi charger was always nice until you come into, realizing, oh, every phone has a camera bump. These things can't lay flat. It's going to be inefficient anyway. So having that little island to place your phone on not only gives you a place to lay the phone, but also takes care of the camera bump issue, because now you're elevated. As long as it doesn't get more than a few millimeters thick, because then, now we're going to come into the problem of having an island sit pushing the phone away from the MagSafe puck. So hopefully Apple doesn't keep making this thing any bigger. But I hate cables. I just wish they didn't exist. I don't want to see outlets in my house. I don't want to see cables, just nothing. If I have a way to hide it, I'm going to hide it. So having something stuck inside of a piece of furniture is definitely like a hobby project that I'm happy to undertake, just so I can hide everything away underneath it. But and I think having access to more cheaper objects, more more Etsy-like solutions where people make these things, you can look up like your vehicle or certain things that you've purchased, and they will go out here and make just custom fittings for it. So I think it'll open up a lot of interesting accessory stories moving forward. Oh, Andrew making
Thanks, Wes,
some
for covering me.
technical adjustments over here.
I had my mic plugged in, and all of a sudden it's like flashing red at me. I'm like, why is this flashing red? This was connected, and then I realized that I had unplugged my power strip to test out this Qi charger we're going to talk about, or this MagSafe charger we're
Fun.
going to talk about. So I'm like, oh, this is not charging. My mic's about to die. So I had to plug it in quickly. So, but yeah, without kind of holding on this a little bit further, the one thing I want to know about is whether or not Apple is going to try to change MagSafe in the future to give itself more of a competitive advantage. Like, why pay for Apple's licensing and fees when you can do the exact same thing for less money, offer cheaper products? You're immediately going to bring more people in, or you could almost offer them the same premium prices and have a higher margin on them. So
Well,
I
that's
don't
what
know
we mentioned before.
Yeah.
MagSafe already has at least one feature that's a differentiator from Qi 2, but it's not enough, I don't think. Where, like I said, standby mode, like the NFCs, there's certain serial numbers attached to each of these MagSafe pucks that the iPhone can differentiate between each of them, but I don't think that's enough. Like, if they can take that one step further, that might be enough to convince the Apple faithful to say, okay, I'm just going to only buy Apple MagSafe because this is such a cool feature. But I don't think it's there yet. They're close though.
Yeah, I didn't know if they were going to try to bump up the speeds, give you 20 watts of power, over Qi 2, or if they were going to try to incorporate data or do something more interesting with the NFC reader. I mean, they made a big deal about literally embedding the NFC reader on the back of your phone. So you got like one towards the top for your transactions and name dropper and all those types of things. And you have also one in the middle of your phone, right in the middle of the MagSafe module, for like when you put on an Apple case, it's able to flash the color, and you're able to, like you said, differentiate between modules so that it's able to retain information such as what widgets are shown on standby mode. So I don't know. We've talked about this, I know, many times on the podcast in the past, but I'm still curious because so far Apple has done nothing, and at the moment it seems like there's no reason necessarily to go with MagSafe over Qi 2.
Right. The future is bright, at least, because I mean, we know that the days of the port are numbered. Yes, we just got USB-C, but now we're counting down the days to when that's gone to. We just have no ports, and I can hear some developers screaming in the distance, but it's probably gonna happen. I just can't see a future where like we get USB Type D or whatever. I don't know. Whatever the next generation would be, I think we're gonna miss out on it entirely. We're gonna eventually be wireless, so Apple needs to be working on how to implement better data systems, better charging systems all over the wireless standard, and I think MagSafe is going to play a huge part in that. So we'll see, and I think we might start seeing signs of that sooner rather than later.
I agree. Hey, remember when we talked about hotel rooms a minute ago?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, AirPlay in hotel rooms is being delayed. So we're going to piggyback on our good news with some bad news, and that is getting pushed into 2024.
What an odd feature, honestly. Like,
it is,
how much
but
do you
it's
care?
also like, okay, so when I go to things like CS or other conferences and stuff, I have a tendency to like work really late, like into the night, and I'll have like whatever is like on cable, because right, that's like basically your option. So I'll be watching like Comedy Central at like 3 a.m, getting 15 ads for hearing aids and adult hotlines, and I so wish that I could watch like anything else, but until now, like they've never really given you an option. Like there's no like I don't want to sign in to Netflix on something like a shared TV, even though you make sure you have to sign out and stuff. And I don't know. I do wish that I could use like a second, like using my iPad or something and just cast up my shows onto the television at times. I feel like it would be nice, but
I always take several adapters and things with me so I can maybe plug in my iPad or Nintendo Switch to the TV. I know some hotels, especially nicer ones, block you from touching any of the TV stuff anyway. And even if you do plug in, you can't switch the inputs. Wait.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I will sneeze at least 4 more times. So, but yeah, I always take something just in case I can or bother to. Most of the time we just watch like Everybody Loves Raymond reruns or something. But I agree. I think having the ability to AirPlay definitely opens up the opportunity to just do whatever you want kind of thing. And the latency for AirPlay has gotten so much better that, like you could even probably play a game, over AirPlay if you wanted to on the
That'd be
TV.
nice too.
I want to know what hotels everyone's staying at, because they're always talking about, wow, all these, wireless chargers and, AirPlay TVs, and just, it's like, man, I don't know. I spend some decent money at hotels and I still get like the lamp with the outlet that's too loose to hold a plug. So I'm not sure where you guys are staying, but it's not like the Hilton. Got some
Yeah,
prestige golden toilet hotels that you're staying at. I don't know.
for sure. Like it's hit or miss. Like this is going to be almost like the wireless CarPlay adoption, where Apple offered it for like 5 years and nobody did anything, and now we actually have vehicles supporting it. But Apple's going to come out with AirPlay for TVs, and they're going to put it in some penthouse suites in some prominent hotels, and then the masses may get it 10 years down the line when they finally upgrade their TV systems, because there's like it's just like like you said before, like the alarm clocks with USB-A spots on them and stuff like that, or 30-pin connectors that are like 15 years old, because really why upgrade it? And the same thing goes like, why put new TVs into the rooms, like, for anything?
Anyone who follows me on Mastodon where Andrew isn't, you'll see me ranting recently, because I don't know, I've just noticed, and now I can't get it out of my head, there's so many interesting little technologies that Apple has introduced that just no one has touched, and I don't understand why. I don't know what the issue is, because I put this on Apple because they should have an evangelist program where people are going to these companies and saying, hey, you would be a perfect fit for this product. And I believe they used to. I mean, we saw them basically almost partner with Walgreens to force them into giving us the rewards program through Apple Pay, which they've now taken away. But I don't understand what's happening here, like with the AirPlay with hotel TVs. But again, I think the issue is Apple's systems are so private that a lot of these companies, like we just had a story about GM we might get into later, a lot of these companies seem to be abandoning Apple's better systems for worse ones that give them more data, more ability to sell to ad agencies or ad brokers or what have you. And it's really frustrating to me, because like I want deliveries in the Wallet app, but they don't, because they don't get as much data for it. And they don't want us to use Apple Pay. They want us to use Shop Pay or Amazon Pay, because they get more information. They get more back, like money from it, basically. And I don't know, like AirPlay in the hotel, great. But now the hotel doesn't know what you're watching, so they can't sell it to advertisers. It's just,
And you're not going to
so
buy
annoying.
their limited option of pay-per-view videos when you can stream
Just
your own
bring
Netflix
your
profile.
Apple TV from home. Yeah, like you're just gonna watch what you've purchased on iTunes or whatever. Rest in peace. But yeah, I don't know. It's just Apple needs to find a way to incentivize these programs, because they're amazing consumer objects that give us choice. But more and more companies don't care about consumer choice. They only care about that, bottom line, that services revenue, that advertising revenue that even Apple has fallen into the trap of. So I just wonder what's happening with a lot of these programs, and we'll discuss one here in a minute. I've teased it before, but I really want to talk about routers.
I know the router situation we're going to get into, profiles on Apple TV. What a great thoughtful thing that is, that literally none of the streaming apps use, and it's
So
become
annoying.
literally useless. And it's actually become more annoying now, because Faith will go up to Apple TV and she'll like wake it up from her phone, puts it into her profile, which means all of our watch history that is typically just on mine, because we've never bothered to switch the profiles before. So our entire history of joint shows, is there in the TV. She's like, "Why are all my shows gone?" I'm like, "Well, it's gone into your profile because you woke it from your phone and you have none. So now you have to open up this menu, switch it back to mine to pull up your stuff."
Just
And
a quick word on that. Apple already has shared with you and recommended for based on who's in the room, so you can make it recommend based on you and Faith, right? But there is not a joint up next, and I think it would be really cool if there was a way to say, I want this particular show to share between our up next. So if it's watched, I know that can get dangerous, because then what if Faith goes rogue and watches 6 episodes without you or something, and now you're gonna now you're gonna have a fight over it. It's like, why did you go ahead of me and watch all that Ted Lasso? But I still think it would be an interesting feature to have some sort of collaboration between your different profiles, because people watch stuff together, and maybe you want to mark it as watched on yours, or maybe you want to keep track of it, and if Apple picks up on this silly trend that's been going around that everyone loves, I mean, it's interesting. I'll put it that way. Year end updates, what are, like the Spotify Wrapped and stuff. So everyone's getting a Wrapped now. So eventually, maybe we'll get an Apple TV Wrapped, but then Faith's going to get nothing because you watch everything on Andrew's account, right? So I don't know. I think that's a problem we're solving.
Exactly. Well, speaking of collaborations, the collaborative playlists have arrived in the first beta of iOS 17.3 and is another feature that Apple has pushed into 2024. This was originally supposed to arrive here in 17.2. It was in the beta phases of 17.2, but Apple pulled it at the last minute. I believe 9to5Mac found some code in there that actually showed that Apple was trying to tweak it based on worries of abuse, like people spamming like your playlist and stuff. So it seems like Apple might be retweaking it a little bit, but it is in 17.3, and that'll be arriving in early 2024 with that release.
Yeah, iOS 17.3 is an interesting release because there's not much there. The collaborative playlists have a new reaction feature, which I haven't got to test yet. But like, I think people can thumbs up or thumbs down a song. Just, you can put different emoji in there to say how you feel about a song someone else has added, which is fun. It does show who added that song to the playlist when you're listening to it, which is interesting. I don't know if you've had a chance to use the share play in the car yet, but that's how the share play in the car works. It comes up with whoever's name. And I find that a very interesting feature. I've been on a couple of road trips recently, and everyone's just been wowed by the fact that they can just add things to the queue from their phone, which is a lot of fun. But collaborative playlists will be cool. I know me and my girlfriend's already talked about making several. We want to share one for like our planning our wedding, and we want to have one just to share between us or with friends. So that's definitely going to get some use, because I've seen a lot of apps pop up, but it requires someone else to use that app as well. So having it native will be very nice. But there's another feature that we won't touch on here because it's a little in the weeds for iOS 17.3, and that's the stolen device protection. And I'm very interested in seeing how that works out for everyone. I've got the beta installed, of course, because I'm always on the beta train, and can't test it because I'm at home. So I'll have to go somewhere and try changing some settings or something. But yes, that more on that on the Apple Insider podcast. See, put a little plug in there.
Nice. Well, our final piece of news, before we get into a few discussions on things like routers and a couple hands-on, like with an object that I keep just teasing slightly off screen, we have our final saga, hopefully final saga, or final update on the Ecobee doorbell saga. Basically, Ecobee has gotten back to me, and they have said that everything is sorted out now. There was a minor bug with like the rollout or whatever, but everything is fixed. And hopefully everyone is now experiencing these activity notifications if you are using an Ecobee doorbell, which makes me finally be able to actually recommend this to folks. These will now show up on your Apple TV. I literally just got one a second ago. Somebody rang, or not, it just detected motion, and it's not even on camera, depending on where this camera is facing. But yeah, it actually shows your activity notifications, and you can get these based on like people packages, cars, stuff like that, and then they'll show on your Apple TV, which is great.
My wind chime is always a package, actually. I frequently get told that my wind chime... Is it shaped
like a large box with twine?
Yes, we have it's like a birdhouse, so I think it mistakes it for a package every time the wind blows, so... Very fun.
Some folks had asked the firmware update version or firmware version that I'm on. It is 4.8.9.104. So if you want to check, see if your firmware is up to date. Now, as far as I recall, it's been a hot second since I've dealt with this process, but I believe Ecobee actually does a staged rollout of firmware. So you may not have that yet, but you should, as Ecobee continues to roll it out to everybody. And you can always lovingly inquire with Ecobee about your firmware updates if you are just super duper eager. Do you use a smart doorbell at all, Wes?
I have the Logitech Circle View doorbell, which has been just perfect, honestly. Like it's, other than it detecting packages that aren't there, it does a really good job. Just I've heard of overheating issues, but my porch is very much in the dim all day. There's never any direct sunlight on it, so that probably helps. But yeah, I like it. I have it connected to my HomePods to make it chime. I disconnected the home regular chime, so it's pretty cool.
Nice.
And I just
Well,
realized I think my heater's running in my room. Wait a second.
that is wonderful. Well, now that we're 30 minutes into this, we can thank our first sponsor for this episode,
yes.
Masterclass. And I have a confession to make to all of you. Wes is not actually tied up over there, held at torch point. No, I was able to simply convince him using my expert negotiating skills that I learned through
I just noticed,
Masterclass.
I was like, wow, it's getting warm in here. Oh, my heater's on. Oh no, the heater's on. We're doing a podcast now. So if you heard a gentle hum for the last, I don't know, 30 minutes, that was a heater in my room. It's okay though. Maybe that was a little ASMR background. It should be fine.
Exactly. It was perfectly fine. Back to Masterclass.
Oh, sorry.
Masterclass has over 180 instructors as well as 11 different categories of classes that you can partake in. So you can pick everything out that you want. I have tried so many of these and I love them. Chris Voss's negotiating one, the one that I used to trick Wes into doing this podcast with me, is wonderful. They just added Amy Poehler to their roster, which is outstanding. Always been a huge Amy Poehler fan, so now she is on there. And Gordon Ramsay is on there. He can teach you everything that you need to know, from knife skills to making the absolute best scrambled eggs, which seriously are fantastic. And if you were eating rubbery scrambled eggs, you have not tried like the creamy ones that Ramsay will teach you. It's wonderful. What do you think about Masterclass, Wes?
Well, I think if I had to think about it this way, it's like YouTube Premium but better. If you ever just wanted to, if you ever just been watching YouTube and you're like, man, I just wish this guy was Gordon Ramsay. Well, now you have that option by paying for Masterclass, because basically you get all the awesomeness of video or even audio stories from all these famous people who would probably never really actually have a YouTube channel because YouTube's maybe a little too pedestrian for them. They get to go over to Masterclass where they get to teach you all this fun stuff, and you don't have to deal with the YouTube algorithm or all the weird stuff that comes along with it. You get to enjoy a premium feed of education.
Absolutely. There is a huge array of instructors that will give you just the best knowledge, improve your confidence, and you can kick off the next year the right way. So this holiday season, give one annual membership and get one free at masterclass.com/HomeKit. Yeah, that's right. So right now, you can get 2 memberships for the price of 1 at masterclass.com/HomeKit. masterclass.com/HomeKit. Offer terms apply. Thank you again to Masterclass for sponsoring this episode of HomeKit Insider. So I know you've been champing at the bit for this one, man. Let's go. Get into it. Tell me what we're talking about.
So it's been a long time running here. I know if you've been a long time listener of the Apple Insider podcast, you've heard me complain about this before. HomeKit routers are such a mystery. I don't really understand what happened over there. Apple announced it. It sounded like a great idea. It's not even, let me put it this way, it's not even that exciting of a feature. It allows you to select which items in your HomeKit home get to have access to the internet or act only locally. So maybe you bought some weird creepy brand that you don't really want to trust, and maybe it's a camera and you don't want it connected to the internet. Guess what? HomeKit router support lets you do that. You get it to all the awesome features that the device gives you without it actually ever reaching the internet to share all of your private information. It's the best of both worlds, but you need a piece of hardware to do this. And out of the gate, it was Ecobee. No, I'm sorry, not Ecobee. Now you have it in my head. Eero. So Eero had some routers that were HomeKit compatible, Wi-Fi 6 routers. The Linksys Velop system supported HomeKit, but very specific ones. If you bought the expensive one, never got HomeKit, even though they promised it multiple times. I made that mistake. They promised it. I bought it. Never happened. And then there was, what is it? Ubiquity Amplify is the other one. So there's only a handful of these out there. They're all Wi-Fi 6. And I started investigating. It's like, all right, by now, years later, maybe there's Wi-Fi routers that I can actually purchase. It's time to upgrade. I want to look at Wi-Fi 6E. I'm not going to touch Wi-Fi 7 yet because it's expensive. There are no Wi-Fi 6E HomeKit routers. Even the companies that have HomeKit router support don't support it in Wi-Fi 6E. Does not make any sense. But Linksys, their website has a HomeKit section. It makes no mention of their 6E routers. Eero actually goes out of its way to say that they don't support HomeKit on their Wi-Fi 6E routers. So I kind of just gave up. And then the other day, I decided, let's just do the search one more time. I just searched HomeKit router, and up popped this very fancy $1,000 for two system, Wi-Fi 7, that has HomeKit router support, apparently, according to TP-Link. This is the I don't know the name of the brand. Deco. This is the Deco brand of mesh routers from TP-Link, and it says in the notes it has HomeKit support. So maybe Wi-Fi 7, or the Wi-Fi 7 routers that no one can afford for another year or two will have HomeKit router support.
Where I couldn't even find it on that page. I did like a search on the page, and I could not find HomeKit mentioned.
It's their secret router. So all right. Here's the fun part. I don't believe it's on their website, but for some reason, this is great. But for some reason, the Best Buy portal that sells this has HomeKit listed in the attributes. And I double checked. I went back at previous generations of Deco routers. The Wi-Fi 6 model has HomeKit. The 6E model does not, and the Wi-Fi 7 says it does. This is the only Wi-Fi 7.
Reaching out.
Yep. Please, I have a contact at TP-Link too. I should probably just ask them, but this is too new. I haven't had a chance. Literally found this like 2 days ago. So yeah, I have a feeling that maybe for whatever reason, maybe they just thought it wasn't worth implementing. Because again, I think it's another licensing fee issue with Apple, because you have to do something special to get certified for HomeKit. So they probably just avoided it for the 6E models because they probably assume nobody's going to buy those, because it is kind of a half step between 6 and 7 that only adds a new subband that doesn't matter. Not really. Don't at me. But yeah, like, it's HomeKit router support is so odd because I actually have two Linksys routers in my home in a mesh network, and one of them supports HomeKit, one of them does not. So guess what? My home does not support HomeKit through the router. It's so weird.
Oh, man, it is just a weird thing, and it's one like at one point it just seems like, oh well, it's because nobody uses it, but at the same time it's like you're not actively like using it. Like you're not, you know what I mean? Like you're not going in there, like you set it up probably when you turn it on, but then you never really have to think about it again, and you shouldn't have to. So it's kind of just that weird spot. And when does my router support HomeKit? They're like, yes, of course, all your HomeKit accessories will work with this. It's like, okay, cool. And like there's like a different thing of like, yes, it's a Wi-Fi router, so your wireless accessories will work with it, but it doesn't support HomeKit on the router level for the security. I don't know. So I don't know if it's just people have not like requested this feature enough. If that's the case, all of you just write to your favorite router company and say support HomeKit. But yeah, maybe we'll get lucky with some of the 7s that are coming out. Like you said, 6E wasn't a big upgrade for most people, and I think that we're going to see a much better upgrade with Wi-Fi 7. Like that's going to be a massive update for routers, and I think there's going to be a ton more people buying them at that point. So there's a lot more potential there. We'll see. This is like, it's not even about data, because I know that it's a security feature, so it's not like they're getting data from you. I think it just like you said, goes back to, is it worth paying a licensing fee on these products for a feature that we don't know, or we do know how much people are actually using or asking for?
Yeah, I mean, it's just odd to me that, like, again, it goes back to the previous discussion. There's so many interesting little features that Apple comes out with, and we don't know what Apple is going to do in the future with HomeKit router support. Maybe they'll do an update, right, and add more to these control systems. But maybe Apple doesn't feel the need to update it if no router company's implementing it. So it just goes back to, hey, you know what? We really need Apple to come out with their own router, because this is madness. I mean, I don't want to switch router systems. I like my Linksys. Whenever it becomes affordable to do so, I think I'll upgrade to a Linksys Wi-Fi 7 router system with a mesh network. Now they have like all the modern key terms. I don't know if you've shopped for a router recently, Andrew, but all of them claim that they have AI mesh networking now, and it's just kind of annoying. But yeah, Apple really needs to come out with a new router. Just save us all the pain.
Yeah, that would be really. We've requested this for so long, and for some reason, Apple has not listened to us. So I don't know. We need a new. And seriously, it even makes so much sense with HomeKit, because they could make it, a solid home hub, adding to the Thread network or the mesh network with Thread. Like, there's a lot of potential there on a router level. Build in things like their iCloud security features, like basically a whole home VPN directly on the router. Like, there's so much they could do that would be nice that no one else is doing. And when Apple's whole, like, literally, it's like, hi, I'm Apple, I like privacy. Like, that's like their number one. And then they're like, also, we like the planet. And they go down from there. And with privacy is like their number one, or one of their number one issues, you'd think that something like a router that protects all of your online data and everything, and your home at this point, would be something that they would like to create and be a part of. And it seems like they've just dropped the ball.
It just seems, yeah, like you said, it just seems like such an important part of like the Apple ecosystem. And I just can't help but imagine, what if every HomePod, every Apple TV was able to act as a kind of bouncing node. It doesn't need to be a full-on router, but like just to amplify signal or relay information through to get rid of any little dead spots in your home. They already act as hubs for different types of HomeKit devices, but like, just imagine enhancing that even further by literally being part of the Wi-Fi network. And then add on top of that the HomeKit security system type stuff with the HomeKit router support, and just it would go so well together. And I can't help but think that Apple might be working on something like this. They're working on everything in those secret labs over there, but it's just a question of, is it worth it? And I think the problem is nobody buys routers. I mean, I frequently find myself in relatives' homes that have routers from 2014, right? They're still working with Wi-Fi 5 if they're lucky, because they're just like, I have internet. That's all that matters, right? And they don't care that their modem is on the wrong what is it, DCP3 protocol, whatever. It's on 3.1 now instead of 3.0. They don't care. They're never going to upgrade anything. And the ISPs that supply them these things don't care either. I was just at a relative's home, and I was like, man, your router is so old that like they're required to give you these. You know that, right? You pay for these, like call them and get like faster Wi-Fi in your home. This is ridiculous. They don't care. So just Apple probably sees that, and it's so funny because I wonder what this is. This is a good philosophical question. How many Apple, like, I don't know, fans are there that go out here and buy everything they release? Because is that enough to come out with a product? And I'm guessing no, because then Apple would be coming out with a lot more products if that was the case.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, let's keep chugging along. We have so much more stuff still to get through, and we are 40 some minutes into this episode. So, Wes, tell me, you want to know about HomeKit bugs.
Yeah. So you have a home full of HomeKit stuff. I'm sure outlets, fans, lights. You might even have a faucet that works with HomeKit, if I'm guessing. How often do you have to troubleshoot your home? Like when you open the Home app, how many times a day do you see a little dot in that corner that you have to tap to open to see such and such device isn't responding, or, heaven forbid, 7 devices not responding, 15 devices not responding, right? Like, how often do you run into those kinds of issues?
Well, I will say, so it's a little hard for me to judge because of the fact that I have an obnoxious amount of HomeKit devices, and many that I have like tested, currently testing, testing, that get, unplugged or changed, whatever. Like for the longest time ago, I made my own little Pi Cam that would work with HomeKit that used like a version
Right.
of Pi or of Homebridge on a little Raspberry Pi. You could connect a camera, and they actually HK Cam or whatever. Like you could buy a 3D printed cover for it, and literally it would work with like I think like HomeKit Secure Video and would take snapshots and all this stuff. And at the same time, I used that as a bridge for things like my Dyson through Homebridge and stuff like that. Well, at this point in time, I still use that as a camera because it actually still works just fine. It's not highest resolution, but for like some like place like my basement, I can just plug this in and stick into a USB port, and I'm good to go. And it's like an extra camera in the house. But like I don't really use that Dyson and stuff anymore. Have I bothered to remove those accessories? No. And then half the time when I'm testing
Right.
something, I have to unplug something else, and it's like, okay, well now that's not going to be responding until whatever point. And I have so many door locks that I test, and I'm always like, what if I change these around? So like I don't want to remove them and have to factory reset and all that stuff. So I'll have a bunch of door locks. So I know my stuff is a mess, an absolute mess. I
Right.
got a lot of outdated accessories that I no longer use. So I have a bunch that say unreachable. As
So
far
you
as like
just ignore
typical
it.
products go, pretty darn rarely. I mean,
Mm.
I did, just as we were starting to record, I have a Nanoleaf light strip perched atop of me, which is one of their Matter enabled ones. And I've never had problems with it before. And then randomly, like I'm trying to tell Apple Assistant to turn it off, and it's like, huh, that light strip's taking a while to respond. I'm like, seriously, right now I'm trying to record. So like, go figure at this point in time. But other than that, most of my stuff is pretty reachable almost all the time.
Yeah, I'm not running into bugs too frequently personally, but when it happens, it's a total failure. Like, Matter seems to be the biggest issue in my home. I'm not sure why. My house is filled with hubs, including Matter hubs. Um, I have a Nanoleaf Matter Essentials bulb for my bedroom. Randomly just decides, okay, well, I'm just not going to operate from HomeKit. But then I open the Nanoleaf app and I can control it. Um, we actually have several outlets that we use that are I have two that I recently bought that are Matter enabled from Maris, and I have a couple of old actually like Wemo switches, and I think I even have an iHome switch that's like super old because I don't even think iHome even exists anymore. um but yeah, like those do fine, but then the other day every outlet stopped working. Just the outlets, not the lights, nothing else, just the outlets. So I went through the whole home, deleted every outlet I have, and re-added them because why not? Had nothing better to do, I guess. And they all reattached. They were fine, except for one. Maris, the non-Matter one. This is an older dual switch. They don't really sell dual switch HomeKit outlets anymore, where there's two outlets in it. But I'm talking about the ones that plug in, not the ones that you insert literally into the wall. Yeah, so I tried to get this thing to attach, would not work. Turns out requires a 2.4 gigahertz network, and it just randomly decides can't do it because my Wi-Fi on my phone is on the 5 gigahertz band, and it's trying to do how it connects to HomeKit is it creates a shared network on the plug. The phone connects to it, then shares the credentials to the original network so it can bounce back to it. But it's getting the credentials and thinking, oh, this is a 5 gigahertz network. Can't do that. Then gives up. And then I just sat there and did that dance for about an hour, gave up, came back the next day, first try, connects. I'm just like, what is happening? I don't understand. I mean, yeah, all technology is built on a pile of sand and Lego bricks, but like it's just sometimes it can be so frustrating, and it's just like I'm just going to go buy all new things and maybe that'll work, and that almost always is never the solution. Don't do that.
I hate that methodology that a lot of places use for adding stuff to your Wi-Fi network, where they create their own network, you join,
Yeah,
enter your
so
stuff,
bad.
and it rarely works well for me. Like the very first time, um, it just seems like an outdated way of doing things. And Apple has tried to make it more seamless now during like the actual like HomeKit setups, because like you can just scan the code and it'll pass things over. But I think that part is
It's
falling
still
back on the
doing
manufacturer. Yeah.
Yeah, it's still doing those handshakes even with the HomeKit code. You don't see it. You're not personally doing it, but it's still doing that Wi-Fi handshake, which just stop it. Like I mean, granted that Maris switch is older, I need to update it. But guess what? I looked. There are no switches to replace it. Like there are no Matter dual switches out there, and there is a newer version of the Mara switch. But why would I buy like the second generation of this switch when Matter's here? But would having two Matter radios and an outlet be a problem? I don't know. Like this is one of those questions of, is it that this product can't exist under Matter, or is it because it just hasn't been made yet? But I guess I'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, no, I'm with you. I think a lot of this stems from just I'm in a weird house. I have two Linksys routers that are hardwired. Like technically speaking, my home network should be solid. And right now, I just checked my home app and no dots, no problems, which is great. I love seeing that. But every now and then, like yesterday, I just opened the app because it was frustrating with these plugs, and 7 devices weren't responding, and then it would just cycle. Like it was like I got hit with like a radiation wave or something, and it's just like 10 devices, 5 devices, 7 devices, 3 devices, and then finally back to just that one outlet that was failing. And it's just like, what was that? Like why? Like what in the world caused everything to just lose its mind for 5 minutes? And as few times as that probably happens, I guarantee that weird problem happens every time I'm trying to give a voice command to control a light. Like it's probably fine 99.9% of the time, but it's the one time I'm trying to control it that it decides, you know what? No response. Sorry, can't help you.
Of course, that's absolutely always how it's going to work.
So I added this SwitchBot to our show notes because I was curious about it. Have you used this particular or similar curtain rod controller?
I have not yet. So it's been on my list because I kind of wanted to try to put one on my shower curtain just because.
Just because?
Yeah, more or less just because. Like I can, because right now I already actually have a command where I'll run a scene that will close like our shades because we have like smart shades in our bathroom. So I'll say it's like time to shower and it'll close like the shades in the bathroom. I could just attach this to it too, and then that would automatically like make sure the shade is completely closed, so that we know water comes out and stuff when I go to like turn on the shower or whatever. Like could be a thing, could totally be a thing.
I mean, so I have a lot of HomeKit stuff, and I have a lot of technology in the home, MagSafe chargers, various equipment, Apple TV, HomePods. My girlfriend is okay with that, but I have my limits. I would not be allowed to add one of these because it would just be like, why? What are you doing? I am standing in the shower. I can grab the curtain. I can move it. I don't need anything to open it for me. So I
Well,
just
because this is
find that
this
so
is
funny.
why you're gonna get the Moen smart shower system, right? So
Right.
that's going to turn your
Right.
shower on. But what happens if you're not in the bathroom and you want to turn your shower on? Is that curtain closed? Is it closed? Are you
Exactly.
going to make a mess everywhere in your bathroom? No.
Right.
You're going to set a shower scene. It's going to close your curtain. It's going to close the shades on the windows. And it's going to turn your shower on. And no water's going to get anywhere because you have a smart curtain robot.
Of course. I mean, HomeKit, all the things, of course. I mean, me personally, I just want everything in HomeKit. Like, I really wish Apple would open up the ecosystem more. Like, give us Bluetooth device support. Just let me. I don't want HomeKit, like Apple Home app, to just be about my home stuff, like light bulbs and appliances. Let me see, like, if I have a smart toothbrush or something in my bathroom, let me see the charge level of that because it just happens to be a Bluetooth object connected to a node, right? Like, give me all the information, give me all the things. I am absolutely with you there, but I believe my girlfriend would catch the house on fire if I go too far.
I do like that sometimes the hot water takes forever to reach our bathroom, and I keep like I wish you could have that smart water system, like just to like preheat it, and then it would
Isn't
just be
it?
warm.
It's an attachment to your water heater, basically, that you can tell it to preheat your water. It's really funny.
Well, the one that I know of, like the only smart shower that works with HomeKit that I know of is from Moen, and there's like a wall panel where you can actually have presets for like you or your partner or anything. They could have like their own presets on what they like, and it controls
Right.
like everything about the shower. And then you can of course tie it into HomeKit and turn it on and off, temperature, all that kind of stuff. But it goes in your shower and not in your water heater or anything like that.
Let's see. All right. What have you
Well,
got?
okay, I have a question for you. Do you speak any other languages?
No, I'm terrible.
Well, you know what would make you less terrible? Our
Mm.
next sponsor, Babel. That's right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Uh, I didn't even know this. Do you know what they call someone who speaks three languages?
What's that?
Trilingual. It's not a joke. That's
Oh,
actually just the definition of the word,
I
which is
mean,
very
that makes sense.
fancy.
Yeah.
I know. And this is something that I wanted to do for so long, and I have never found a good way to do it until I did start using Babbel. I have tried like flashcards. I took so much Spanish in high school and college, and I still barely, retained any of it. And then you start trying with Babbel, which is so easy to start using. They're like these short 10-minute lessons, and they're designed by over 150 different language experts that can help you start speaking a new language in as little as 3 weeks, which is great when you like a trip coming up and you want to start practicing for this. I know my wife and I talked about this in a video that I did on like our YouTube channel, but like we keep talking about what our next like overseas trip is going to be, and I'm so excited to be actually able to use this for something that we're going to do. When we went to Iceland, it was so difficult not knowing literally like a lick of the language, and then having to actually find data and everything over there was a whole thing. But learning the language, even at all, would have been really useful. Like, how do I say coffee? I don't know, but I can learn how with Babbel. So, have you ever wanted to learn another language, Wes?
I mean, of course, I went through the school system where in our time, I think they made us take 5 years of a foreign language, and I also took Spanish. And I've gotten to the point where, yes, I can understand the lyrics in a Shakira song, but that's about it. Can't can't go back in time and tell myself, you know what, this might actually be useful later. But programs like Babbel are interesting because you can actually go at your own pace, and you get, you know, short lessons, long lessons, whatever. And there's a lot of practice sessions, videos, just pronunciation guides, just everything that you need. Minus the angry middle school teacher asking you to ask to go to the bathroom in Spanish. So definitely much less stress, much easier to do when it's in your own place in your own time.
I know. They say 15 hours in Babbel is equal to an entire university semester. Like, that's insane of how much you can pick up just by using this 10 minutes a day. And they have this advanced speech recognition feature, which is like having your own personal language codes that'll help you with pronunciations. So it's not just like reading the words off of a flashcard or something, or taking little clicky things. Like, they're actually listening to how you're saying things. Like, it's so cool. And here's the best part. So here's a special limited time deal just for our listeners to get you started right now. Get 55% off your Babbel subscription, but only for our listeners at babbel.com/HKI. So get 50% off at babbel.com/HKI, spelled BABBEL.com/HKI. Rules and restrictions do apply. Thank you again to Babbel for sponsoring this episode. And let's go ahead and round this out. I'll just do one hands-on because we're pushing an hour here, Wes. So, but I'm really excited about this one, and I know you're going to be excited about it because you already talked about them earlier in this episode.
Of
It
course.
is this guy here, the all-new Nomad. I believe this is the Stand 1 Max. I think that's what this is
Fancy.
called.
Is there a wireless
so-
pad for an Apple Watch down there too, or is that just a blank space?
Oh no, this is your AirPods can perch right here.
Oh,
Your AirPods
okay.
go there, your Apple Watch here, your iPhone here. First things to note, this is heavy. Like, the general test is, would I use it to harm an intruder? For sure. This is a great intruder chucker. So this thing is hefty. Like,
I mean, that's my first test for any tech object is, can I use this as a weapon?
absolutely. And this, I mean, you got multiple weapon points here. This is not how I bet they ever thought these reviews would go, but here we are. It is all very heavy. All of this is metal for the Apple Watch puck, metal rod that connects the two sides. It is MagSafe certified, so like you're saying, there's like the Qi ones and then there's the MagSafe ones. This is Apple certified MagSafe, up to 15 watts. And thank you, Nomad. Thank you for giving us a fast charging Apple Watch puck. I kind of revealed, based on some people in the supply chain, that Apple had discontinued the regular Apple Watch puck And since then, almost every single one that has come to market has used fast charge for Apple Watch, and I am here for it because even Nomad's last one that they
It's so
released
nice.
fairly recently was still a slow charging one, and I did not understand why anyone would release a new product without the fast charge. So, fast charge Apple Watch, Qi charger at the bottom, little indent for any of your Apple Watch or your AirPods charging there. Extra bonus, USB-C port on the back. Provide your own brick, but it does include a braided color-matched USB-C cable. So it's a nice nylon wrapped one, nice overmolds on the end. You could use this, swap it out. It's like a good length, probably like a 6-foot cable or so, 5-6 foot cable. But you could always swap it out for one of your own if you needed a longer one or a shorter one, and then any USB-C power brick that you want to use. So if you have like a multi-port one, which is kind of like what I prefer, because then you can have like one that would feed this, and then another like 65 watt one or 100 watt that could feed your laptop, your iPad, whatever your main maybe desk accessory would be. But yeah, this thing is pretty cool. It does support standby mode, though you're going to be super tight there if you got like a Pro Max and an Apple Watch trying to fit on there at the same time.
Well, yeah, you're not going to charge your phone and the watch at the same time if you're using standby mode. But I would argue, in my use case anyway, especially with that fast charger Apple Watch, I'm only taking my Apple Watch off once a day for my like bedtime routine, and in the 15 minutes that I'm away from my watch, it's charged enough to wear for another day. So I usually just like I have a bedside charger. It's the 12 South one that's real nice, and I put my watch down and I go do what I need to do. By the time I come back, I put the watch back on and then put my phone on the nightstand. So I'm never doing both at the same time, if not very rarely doing both at the same time. So I can understand why this would be there, but also they probably developed this without knowing standby was happening, because we have to remember it was only a this year thing. So yeah, I expect the next Nomad Max stand iteration will likely be better built for standby, allowing you to also charge your Apple Watch. Maybe the Apple Watch will be at the bottom or jet out the back, who knows. But this is obviously a result of product development cycles taking more than, what is it, like 6 months ago that they announced this. So
Yeah,
but it
for
still looks
sure.
like a great stand, and like it's cool. I have their regular Nomad stand that looks like that, just without the Apple Watch charger and
Absolutely.
AirPods. But yeah, like this one looks pretty cool.
I could see them doing kind of, like we've seen this a few times, and I probably have some examples like around my desk, but keeping the same design aesthetic and then taking this off and putting it right out the back and sitting flat. And then either putting AirPods here or removing the AirPods. But that I really like those thin chargers that are like this width, like the regular ones. Put the Apple
Mhm.
Watch here so it can sit straight down. AirPods right underneath. It's similar to, we got the Belkin one that does something similar. So this pops up. You got your Apple or your iPhone in the front, Apple Watch in the back. Makes it easy. Um, they have one also from 12 South, like their original one, that had the flat part here, Apple Watch there, AirPods underneath. I kind of like these thinner ones because I have a lot of like, I don't have any space, is what I'm trying to say. And I like the ones that are nice and compact like that.
I'll drop one in the show notes. I did a review recently for QXU, I think, something like that. I think it's a Chinese brand, but they had a nice folding chargers that I've actually started using as my travel charger. I definitely recommend you guys go check those out, because like I said, I've been traveling recently, and it's perfect. It folds up. It goes into my go bag with my other charging cables and everything, and I pull it out, and it unfolds into a 3-level charger that supports standby, fast charge Apple Watch, and a 5-watt charger for your AirPods, all in one little guy that folds up, and it fits basically in this little bitty square thing. So it's pretty cool. And like I want to see Nomad and investigate more fun systems like that. Like it would be really cool to see what like Nomad would do with a folding system, because it seems to be the popular choice right now. Is everybody's coming out with folding stowaway chargers. I think Satechi or someone else might have recently come out with like a dual MagSafe Apple Watch charger. So lot of interesting innovations happening in this space.
Absolutely. Man, look at us. We are now over an hour on this episode. And what you guys don't know is we had to push things. Like, I've got stuff that I want to talk about on the next episode now. I have a smart faucet now, folks. It does fun things, and we'll talk about it on
See,
the
I knew
next
it. I knew you had a smart faucet.
I know. Yeah, I know. I got opinions on it, but it's going to have to wait for another week. So make sure you guys come back for the next episode of HomeKit Insider. Do all the things that you usually do. So follow both Wes and I on all of our socials. They'll be linked up in the show notes. Be sure to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Go ahead and do that for us. If you want to watch the video of this, got a little hands-on. You can show off the little charger here. I'm waving in front of the camera. If you want to see it in person and me touch it with my fingers, you can do that by going to youtube.com/HomeKit Insider. You can see Wes's jail cell that he's filming from today. It's all very exciting. Anything that I missed?
Nope, think that's it. Find me on Mastodon. Tell Andrew to get on Mastodon. And other than that, I think that's it.
Other than that, I guess you guys have to go listen to the Apple Insider podcast because I hear that's going to be a good episode too.
Right. Oh, one more thing. Siri, fill a gallon of water. Thank you.
We'll see you guys in the next episode. See ya.
Yeah.